So I'm Chris Carlson. I am the owner and president at CP Carlson Builders in Waldport. And what we're going to talk about today is what we call project development. What project development is really is a starting point of what we do in order to get a client onboarded in our process. So how we begin this project development, we have you into our office, we have a preliminary meeting. Whether you get some background on what some of your hopes are, some of your dreams are, and then we can begin the process of analyzing your property, your home, and what the project may have involved. Once our office meetings are done, we're going to go out on another day and we're going to have a site visit. Sometimes we'll go with a client, sometimes we won't go with a client, and we'll familiarize ourselves with the site, whether it be a home, home to renovate, or new property. So property line and corner verification are important to us because we need to obviously make sure that we don't have encroachments from other neighbors, so that we can see if we have trees that are going to be blocking your view later, to see if it looks like we're going to have enough room for driveways, for septics, and we're just going to need to know where your property lines are located. So CC&R reviews, code, covenants, and restrictions, are a lot of times restrictions or codes or covenants put on properties to protect, say, other neighbors, or try to make everybody congruent in the same neighborhood, or restrictions such as height restrictions, things like that, that will affect pretty much the design construction of a home. And we want to make sure that those restrictions won't restrict a project that you may be dreaming about or have a desire to build. The geotech review, it's a geotechnical report that's many times currently done on a property that's either listed for sale or a home that's already been built. If we want to add on to a home, we'll need to look at a geotech review in order to make determinations on what type of foundation you may need, how close to the edge of a cliff you may want to build, to the ocean, to there may be an old slide in the area, which could greatly affect obviously the foundation, maybe where the house can go. There's a lot of determining factors that a geotechnical report is going to show us. So setback verification. It's a distance between the property line, your property line, potential property line that we can build to. For instance, some home sites you'll be able to build your house within 5 feet of a property line. Some homes they'll tell us we've got to build 20 feet back. Some homes it's different on all sides. So if you're looking at a large home and we're trying to fit it on a small lot, we've got to include those setbacks in the overall planning process. And if we've got very large setbacks, it might greatly affect the home that we can build you. In this area, especially with ocean views, we run into height limits in areas. A lot of times they'll come up in a CC&R review. Typically in this county, we have a 30-foot height limit. A lot of times we'll see 15-foot height limits in view areas. So it's a really important thing to know when we start designing your home. Flood zone information. What flood zone information is, we're going to go typically to our county office. We can go online to the FEMA maps. We've had a lot of recent changes in flood zones. We've had a lot of issues around flood zones. So we're going to look very, very closely at your property, especially if it's a beachfront property. Sometimes it's on river property where we have a flood zone determination that's going to affect where we can build in that area, what costs we're looking at one part of your property compared to another part of your property. So it's a big part of project development. If we have a very technical layout, or projects that things are barely fitting, we'll go ahead and do a plot plan. It'll show where we're going to put your potential home or a potential addition on your property, on your home, your shop, whatever we're working on, garage, and show then take that information to our county or to our city and have a review with them to make sure that this seems like it's going to work to them. So when we start moving forward, we're not going to have to take 3 steps back. So we look at deed restrictions. We look for deed restrictions. A lot of times they come up during a preliminary title report, or we go looking around for deed restrictions. Sometimes what we'll find is a previous owner has put a restriction on a piece of property that it may not be congruent with county code. A lot of areas will have a 30-foot height restriction, and then you'll find one piece of property out here in the middle of nowhere with a 15-foot height restriction. Somebody's put a deed restriction on that for a view, for things that come into play that may not always become evident until we go back to the county for a permit. It's just another check. Septic systems are obviously an important part of the planning process here, project development. Most properties are septic approved. What we find a lot of times is you'll have a septic approval area on a piece of property that may be the best location for your home. So we really want to get our heads wrapped around what type of septic's going in, how much of your land it's going to be taking up. If you want a 4-bedroom house, can we put a 4-bedroom system in? What type of system are we putting in? There's quite a range in costs with septic systems. There can be view trees, there can be beautiful trees that you may not want to lose, but that we may have to take that area for septic. There are a lot of things that we have to look at for septic. We have to look at where your septic tanks would go and in conjunction where the house would go, just to make all this work as one cohesive subject, if you will. So as part of project development, we're going to go in and stake out the property you're looking at, or if we're adding on to your home. So we're actually going to go out to the site. We're going to put stakes in the ground and show you where we have the septic laid out, where we're going to have the potential home site or the potential addition. If it looks like it could be close, we're going to stake out where a property line is, so you can come out and get a real feel for where your house may go, where it's going to be oriented on the lot. We're going to do that with a home site, we're going to do that with a septic, we're going to do that with a driveway, and whatever other features may be there that we need to help you visualize where your project's going to be laid out. Some properties have easements, existing easements or otherwise, on the property. We need to take a look at those. It could be a water line easement, it could be a overhead power line easement, it could be a road easement from a long time ago. We need to take a look at all easements as part of the whole project development to make sure that the desired place that you would like to build your house, there's not an easement there. You buy the property and then realize, oh, there's an easement here, we can't build here. So it's something to look at closely. So a city planning review, if the property you're looking at or wanting to develop is in the city, what type of things we're going to be looking at there are water hookups. That will also happen if we're in the county. We're going to be looking at sewer hookups. We're going to be trying to locate those, trying to find as much information as we can that the city would have involving this piece of property. So it's much like going to the county, meeting with the planner, and finding out information. So lead-based paint information. So if we are in project development with you on a project that was built prior to 1977, there's an exact date in there somewhere that we have to follow, we will go ahead and test your home for lead-based paint. The reason for that is if we're going to be remodeling, renovating your home, there's extra precaution, quite a few different rules and regulations that we need to follow, as well as informing you that you have lead-based paint or potential lead-based paint on this project, that we need to take care of that. So as part of project development on a home that we're going to renovate or remodel, we need to go in and verify measurements. So as part of our project development for that, we're going to come in and we're going to measure everything that needs to be measured outside and inside to make sure we have a good clear grasp on what we have in existing condition. Any home that we're going to work on that was built prior to 2004, we need to have tested for asbestos. And part of that project development, again, what we're going to do is go ahead and hire an outside firm to come in and do a thorough test on your home to check for asbestos. As one of the final items of project discovery and development, what we will do is draft up a rough floor plan using the criteria that we've already found in the first parts of this project discovery and development to show you what we may be able to put on this piece of property or add on to your project. We'll be able to use all that information and give you a rough floor plan, which also helps us determine rough square footage of a project, which then moves us into the next phase of determining the cost for design and draft.